Che, Ma'at, Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt. I'm Raymond Witcher, and I will be your host. I'm going to give you not really a presentation, but I'm going to bring you some information that I want you to take a look at. We say, we believe, we've been taught that slavery ended with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865. That's not true. Chattel slavery ended in 1865. Slavery still exists today. Okay, we're going to go over that and I'm going to show you that. All right. So we still have slaves today. We still have slave masters today. Okay, it didn't abolish slavery. It abolished chattel slavery. Okay, and this is what I want to show you. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple things, and we're going to move right on. Let's see. I want to start here. Okay. So in 1865, we were freed through the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln. But immediately, they established the Black Code laws. All right, enacted in 1865 and 1866, the Black Codes were designed to replace the social controls previously erected over Black Americans by slavery, which was ended through the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment in the Constitution. Okay? Black codes were laws enacted by the legislature of former Confederate states in 1865 and 1866 in response to the passage of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. The laws were intended to restrict the rights and freedom of slaves who were freed. Okay, so they had Black Code laws. Some of the laws were vagrancy. All right, let's look at vagrancy. All right, some of the laws. One of the laws that gave them the right to lock up former slaves and descendants of slaves was vagrancy. Meaning, vagrancy is a condition of wandering, homelessness, without regular employment or income. Vagrant usually live in property and support themselves by traveling while engaging in begging, scavenging, and petty theft. Okay, so Black people, we didn't have jobs. They wouldn't give us jobs. So they could lock you up for 10, 20 years for that. If you didn't have employment, they could lock you up for 10 or 20 years for that. If you didn't have a home, they could lock you up 10, 20 years for that. One of the other Black Code laws was lottery. Okay? If they saw more than two Black people together talking, you were lottering. They could lock you up 10, 20 years for that. Eyeballing a white lady or looking a white man eye to eye. It was against the law to even look out of the same window as a white man. You can look these things up. Okay? But they created the Black Codes. Okay? They included the Black Codes. All right? Black Codes were not abolished. There were laws enacted in the southern states. Okay, so we went over this. After the Civil War, to maintain racial control and economic bondage of Black Americans. These codes were designed to limit the freedom of Black individuals, including restrictions in voting, employment, and property ownership. Although they were eventually overturned by Reconstruction era laws, the legacy continues to influence modern racial inequalities and systemic racism in the United States. It hasn't gone anywhere. What I'm trying to show you is we've been miseducated, number one. And I'm going to show you something that really blew my mind, but I don't want to deviate from here. It hasn't gone anywhere. Okay, chattel slavery ended. So what was chattel slavery? Okay, chattel slavery is a form of slavery where individuals are treated as personal property that can be bought, sold, and owned. This system dehumanized enslaved people, reducing them to commodities and stripping away their rights and identity. Now remember something, our identity was stripped from us. We still really don't know who we are because we're stuck in who they told us we are. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why it's important that we start teaching our children, because if we keep them and leave them in their education and fundamental systems of what we need to know, it's getting ready to get worse, because they're removing the few things that we had in school about black people and black Americans. Okay, they're wiping us out. So they're saying strip away their rights and identity. Until you know your identity, you're still a slave. It's right there. Okay. Chattel slave status as property is often passed down through generations. They could will you to their children, right? Meaning their children are also considered property. So when slaves had children, those children belonged to the master. They could be sold, bought, owned, willed down through their family because they're property. You're not human. Remember now, the first 12 amendments in the Constitution weren't for black people. They were for white people and white supremacy. You can look it up and read it. That's who it was for. We, through the Constitution, were not classified as human. We were less than human, identified in the Constitution as 3/5 human. Okay? So the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were addressing black people. So the 13th Amendment comes out and it says, okay, y'all are free. Then the black codes came out and said, no, you're not. We're going to get ahead of this game. We're going to make laws to keep you enslaved. We're going to make laws to keep you from your true full identity. We're going to force you into a system of systemic racism that we're not going to educate you anything about yourself, about your history, your ancestry, your culture, your spirituality. We're going to strip you from that, okay? This type of slavery was widely practiced in the United States before the Civil War, particularly in the South. In this system's individuals had no legal recognition of their rights as human beings, completely owned by their masters. I noticed in the movie about Stephen Biko, this was, I think was back in the 80s when they killed him. All of the South Africans, when they were talking to white people, they would say, yes, master, master, master. And it's telling you here, you have a master, all right? So now we know what chattel slavery is. So chattel slavery ended. You can no longer be owned as property. You can't be sold. You can't be bought. You can't be owned. And your children aren't anybody's property, okay? But slavery never ended because the black codes were written that we have the right to lock you up for the most trivial things. And the only thing we have to do in court is find you guilty. Because it says Let me see if I can find this. Hold on. Let me go back. Okay, if you do a search on laws after slavery to lock up blacks, do a search on any search engine for that. And then come down to how the black codes limited African Americans' progress after Emancipation Proclamation. Okay. How black codes limited African Americans' progress after the Civil War. Okay, Emancipation Proclamation, Civil War. All right, come down to a loophole in the 13th Amendment. And when I tell you that they went to work, as soon as the 13th Amendment came out in 1865, they started dissecting the 13th Amendment loopholes, writing the black codes, okay? White planters in these states denied black people the chance to rent or buy land and paid them a pittance. In 1865, ratification of the 13th Amendment prohibited slavery and servitude in all circumstances except as punishment for crimes. This loophole resulted in the southern states passing the black codes to criminalize activities that would make it easy to imprison African Americans and effectively force them into servitude once more or again. All right. So, chattel slavery ended. Slavery didn't. It continued and it still continues today, and I'm going to show you. So, I'm just trying to show you slavery never ended. They created a new form of slavery and wrote laws to ensure it that are still working today. You'll see that on down in the presentation. First enacted in 1865, the states such as South Carolina and Mississippi, the black codes varied slightly from place to place, but were generally very similar. They prohibited loitering, vagrancy. You remember I told you, they saw you loitering, man, you were gone. Okay? They wouldn't rent you anywhere to live. They wouldn't let you buy land, but they made laws to lock you up because you didn't have anything. Right? If you had 3 or 4 black people standing around talking, they were actually vagrant and could be convicted of a crime and sent to jail. You're reading it, okay? So don't think that all of the black men in jail today are in jail because they're really guilty of something, or that they deserve to be in jail because they made laws to ensure black men. Now, I'm not just saying just black men. It's a lot of white men and Latinos, people of color, but it was primarily for black men. The white people and a lot of the white men and a lot of the white people and a lot of the Latinos, you casualties of war. Trap wasn't set for you. You just got in it. Okay? It passed on to you. In addition to criminalizing joblessness for African Americans, the codes required black people to sign annual labor contracts that ensured they received the lowest pay possible for their work. Excuse me. The codes contain enticement measures to prevent prospective employees from paying black workers higher wages than their current employee paid them. Okay? If you don't pay them more than what I'm paying you, I'm gonna give you a bonus. I'm gonna sweeten your pot. Just don't give it to them. Okay? Failing to sign a labor contract could result in the offender being arrested. You see it? Sentenced to unpaid labor or fine. Okay. All right. So another way of enslavement was by debt. If you owe money, you go to jail. Okay. So you can read on down through here. I don't want to read everything to you. So when you're reading about the 14th and 15th Amendment, all right, when you get down to this, you get down here, it's about 14th and 15th Amendment, you know, was written to give us hope and a belief in that we had a future, ratified in 1868. The 14th Amendment granted citizenship and equal protection of the law. When? When did we get equal protection of the law? Now it says guaranteed citizenship and equal protection of the law to black people. Well, the 15th Amendment ratified in 1870. When did we get these things? Okay. All right. States deprive citizens the right to vote based on race. In the end, the Southern rescinded the black codes. It rescinded the black codes, but that means it took them off of the books. It didn't take them out of the police department. It didn't take them out of the law enforcement. Okay, I'm going to show you. All right. So the 15th Amendment gave us guaranteed us citizenship and protection under the law. The Ku Klux Klan and lynchings terrorized black Americans. All right. Not only terrorized this, I don't need to read them through this. You've heard these parts. I'm showing you things that you probably haven't heard or seen, but we all know that the Ku Klux Klan had most of these people that were in the Ku Klux Klan lynching us were the police. Don't forget, the police department came from the slave patrol. The original slave patrol became the police. Okay, so now we didn't get our constitutional rights. Okay, I'm just talking about the lynchings and things. So you can read down through here, but I don't want to stay there because you know about all of that. Okay, so you can do your search there. All right. You see, slavery is the biggest business in the United States of America. This country was founded, built, maintained by slavery of black people. You think they're going to give that up? No, they're not. They'll give you some camouflage. They'll give you an illusion to make you, oh man, it's over. It's not over. Do a search on which states have contracts with the county that they will keep the prisons full. Full. I think it's full. Okay. Yeah, keep the prisons full. Private prison quotas drive mass incarceration. Okay. So when you read down through here, you hear Donald Trump saying we need to build more prisons. We need to build more prisons in Venezuela. No, was it Venezuela? No, El Salvador, I think it is. All right. So everywhere in the United States that they have prisons in a county, in a state and a county, they have a contract with the state and the county. And here it says, most of the private prison contracts in America require states to keep at least 90% of the prison beds filled or pay a penalty to private, for-profit corporations. It says, these prisons are for profit. And in order to have a prison in their state and in their county, you have to give them a contract that you're going to keep these beds 90% full. So my question is, how can a county and a state guarantee that we're going to keep these beds 90% full? What kind of psychic vision do they have into the future that guarantees crime? You have to have a guarantee system guaranteeing crime, in order for you to guarantee a county and a state, we're going to keep our beds 90% full. Black codes. Now don't forget, those were the black codes back in the 1800s. Now think about the new laws that they have made that have black people in jail today. It's horrible, but it's a business. It's not about rehabilitation, and it's not about punishment. Okay? Advocacy groups, and let me see, is this where I want to go? Yeah, advocacy groups and the public interest obtained the analysis of 62 contracts between the states and local jurisdictions and private prison companies that govern the operation of 77 county and state level facilities. 65% contain occupancy requirements between 80 and 100%, with many around 90. Arizona guarantees 100%. Louisiana guarantees 96%. Oklahoma guarantees 98%. Virginia, right across the river, guarantees 95%. They have the highest quotas. These contract clauses incentivize keeping prison beds filled, all right, which run counter to massive state public policy goals to reduce the prison population and increase efforts for inmate rehabilitation. They're not trying to rehabilitate you. They want to send you out in the street, you commit another crime and come right back to jail. This is a business. They're not going to prepare you in prison to get out and stay out of jail. It tells you here, regardless of the crime rate and public safety needs, these contracts require jurisdictions to maintain current levels of mass incarceration or pay millions of dollars for unused beds. Who would sign a contract like that? Unless they had a system in place guaranteeing it. All right? In Colorado alone, where crime has dropped by a third in the past decade, quotas covering 3 private prisons have cost taxpayers $2 million. Okay. Arizona officials ended up paying $3 million for empty beds because the state stopped sending new inmates to dysfunctional not-for-profit prisons after 3 inmates escaped. Let's come back and read this. Okay, I don't want to stick on one thing. I'm showing you some things. Equal justice incentives. I'm just showing you some things so that you can find it, so that you can see my sources of information and go back and read it all for yourself. Okay, now let me show you a couple of things. Okay, when I tell you that slavery never ended, they have a lot of the prisons in the South and the states that grow cotton. They have slavery, prison cotton picking farms. See it here, prison picking cotton farms. Slavery is alive and kicking in the United States cotton prison farms. They didn't give up slavery. They just didn't tell you and teach you that they're making your sons and your daughters and your husbands and your wives slaves. You got them out there picking cotton. You can see it for yourself. You can read it for yourself. I don't make things up. All right. Let's talk about the slavery that still exists in the United States cotton prison farms. You can read it all for yourself. Okay. Screenshot. Back it up so you can see it. Screenshot from Angola for life. Rehabilitation and reform inside the Louisiana State Penitentiary. 2015, documentary on the plantation. Slavery at Louisiana State Penitentiary, Louisiana, United States, produced by The Atlantic. You see it says, the documentary of the plantation slavery. Okay. So you can just read down through here. All right. And it tells you that, they never gave up slaves. They gave up chattel slavery. You can't make his children slaves. You can't make their family slaves for life, but you can lock him up forever. You see, most of these are black people out here picking their cotton. Who you see here? He just got caught in the trap. Sorry, mister. Okay? But you out there with your brothers now picking cotton. Well, you might deserve it because you probably wanted the brothers picking cotton. Okay? You probably voted for Trump. Gotta have some fun with it. All right? Because if you don't, you'll get so mad that you can't be proactive. You can be reactive, but anytime you react to something, you're gonna lose. Who do you see picking this cotton? It won't open for me. Hey, so who do we see out here picking cotton on these cotton farms? Okay, don't think why they're gonna buy a machine when they have a system in place that's guaranteeing them we're gonna keep our beds 90, 99, 100% full down in these cotton farm picking places. Who you see picking cotton? Who you see? You can see white men on horses. You got one white man here, he got caught in the trap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 blacks. Who you see? Who you see? All right. I'm just showing you. It did not end. It didn't end. It's not going to end. All right. It's not going to end. It's this system. See, you hear black people. I don't hear Latino. Well, maybe now you hear a few Latinos saying it, but we black people have been too satisfied with just making a complaint. Well, how long have we been complaining? How long are we just gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna complain? How long are we gonna say, well, somebody should fix this? Why doesn't somebody fix this? If they wanted to fix this, they could fix this. Well, I have a question for you. How can you fix something that's not broken? How can you fix something that is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do? This system is still doing exactly what it was designed to do. This system is still doing what it was designed to do since 1619. Since 1776, when the United States Constitution was written. The system isn't broken. It's doing what it was designed to do. Stop saying, why can't you fix it? Stop saying, we need a new system. Now, the bad part about it is Donald Trump has a new system for you. Well, he doesn't really have a new system. This is the system. This is the system that he's talking about, going back to making America great again. This is when America was great, and this is what made America great. This is what made America great. Okay. Let me see if I can find this right quick. Okay. Donald Trump is writing an executive order for police to stop and frisk. He's bringing back stop and frisk, where they can just roll up on you and throw you up against the wall and pat you down. That's how evidence gets planted. That's how a lot of black men have ended up in jail, because now I just did a presentation a few back on how the FBI warned that all law enforcement has been infiltrated by white supremacists. Now he's writing an executive order giving them the right to stop and frisk. Who do you think they're going to be stopping and frisking? White people? They're not even going to be in their neighborhood. Okay? Trump's executive order to unleash high impact police force. You go down here, Trump's latest executive order would make police even less accountable. He is giving them a green light to stop and frisk and shoot and kill. You remember in his last presidency, he says, and when you're putting them in the police car, don't be so easy putting them in. You know, bump their head. Shh. Okay? Listen, you're not going to pray your way out of this. You prayed your way in it. Okay? Because we were taught God's going to fix it. When? They ain't had time to fix it yet. When? When are we going to stop this nonsense? Well, God is good. Yeah, all the time. God is good. God is good all the time. When? That's a cliche. That's all it is. It is a cliche that was passed on to us from our parents, and we heard our parents say it, and we heard our grandparents say it. It's a cliche. Because we're living on the belief and the hope and the faith that God is going to come and fix it. When? When, African brothers and sisters that are down on your knees? I mean, now, I thought they had Americans messed up until I saw how they have my African brothers and sisters over there down on their hands and knees carrying a white Jesus around. A whole continent of black people got a white God. Okay, so I'm just showing you. You got to stop waiting on Jesus because Jesus never existed. All right, here it is. Trump's executive order to unleash. Yeah, I just showed you that. Okay, so this is for real. Donald Trump is not playing. The police have been waiting for him. He is empowering them to come into your neighborhoods and come to your houses and do anything else they want to do. Behind nonsense. I mean, we're not even complaining that we have a constitutional right to be equally protected by the law, and we're expecting something different. Come on. Okay. We need to come out of this post-slavery nap. Okay. I'm going to show you this. I saw something come on about that guy that massacred, went into the church, I think it was South Carolina, and killed 9 people. And when he was a white supremacist, young guy. This was a young guy. He was in his late teens or early 20s. And he went in and just slaughtered people in their church. And when the police got him, shortly thereafter, they took him to Burger King. Because he was hungry. He said his heart, it's tough work killing 10 niggas in church. I need a Big Mac. I need what is it in Big Mac and Burger King? I need a Whopper. I need a Whopper, some fries, and a shake. They took him straight on to Burger King. This is the police that arrested a man for going in a church, killing 9 people and wounding others. And they didn't even take him straight to jail. They took him to Burger King. Have it your way, Big Daddy. These are the police that are guaranteed to serve and protect us. So when I thought about that, I was like, well, let me look up. Have there ever been a black to go inside of a white church and kill people, members, in a church? He came back, no. But this came up. And I'm going to tell you, I was shocked because Danville, Virginia is on here. These are white supremacist massacres, okay? Now, I grew up in a little town, South Boston, Virginia. It's right in the center of the state of Virginia, 12 miles off the North Carolina line, and Danville, Virginia is 30 miles west of where I grew up. My mother and my father and both sides of my family are all out of Danville, Virginia and Pennsylvania County. And here they are on here. Let me just go straight to them. I'm gonna work my way right down to Danville, Virginia. And when I saw this, I was like, what? Wait a minute. Danville? Okay. Danville riot. 1883. African American voters were threatened after the Danville riot, leading to their loss of political power in this African American city in Virginia. Okay, so they made it. So you can come down here and click on that. Well, let's open that one. Let's open this one. Okay, so here's my point. My parents, my family grew up in Danville, Virginia. All of my family came out of Danville, Virginia. I've never heard of this. And that means that my mother, my father, my grandparents, and so on, because this happened in 1883. So they buried this because it wasn't taught. It was hushed. The Danville riot occurred on November 3rd, 1883. White supremacists resented the biracial Readjuster Party, which controlled the city council seat in the majority African American city of Danville, Virginia in 1882. An attack by white supremacists left 4 black and 1 white man dead. In the aftermath, armed white men patrolled the streets of the town, preventing most African Americans from voting, and allowed the Democratic Party to regain political power in the town. You can read more. But I was amazed that Danville, Virginia was on here. I mean, now, believe me, Danville, Virginia, South Boston, Virginia, Lynchburg. You know, Lynchburg got his name because of Willie Lynch. Okay, and lynching, that's where the term lynching, we're gonna lynch a nigger, that's where it came from. Willie Lynch. Okay? So we're gonna go back. So we're gonna go back to the top. White supremacist massacres. Here's a list of some of the countless white supremacist massacres. Now remember, the whole reason I started doing this search is because I was trying to find out, have, first of all, any blacks ever gone into any churches and massacred any whites? No. Have any blacks ever gone into any town or white neighborhood and massacred whites? No. Okay. White supremacists, here are white supremacist massacres, and this isn't all of them. This is just a few. Here are a list of some of the countless white supremacist massacres of African Americans in the history of the United States. Most of these massacres were designed to suppress voting rights, land ownership, economic advancement, education, freedom of the press, and or labor rights of African Americans. While often referred to as race riots, they were massacres to maintain white supremacy, protected by the Supreme Court. I'm throwing that in. All right, find more massacres, including those of Native Americans and on. You can go to that link. One of the best explanations about why it is important for students to learn this history is included in the article and related lessons by Linda Christensen. So you can come back and read these things, all right? But I'm showing you this because we've got to get out of the curriculum that they have chosen to teach our children, to start teaching our children what they're not, that they need to know. And here's the thing. They won't let this in the books because they don't want their children to see how horrible their ancestors were and see how horrible their fathers and grandparents are. They want to keep that hush-hush and hidden. Okay. Remember May the 14th, 2022, the Buffalo Massacre. After posting a racist manifesto online before targeting a majority black neighborhood, a white supremacist killed 10 people at the grocery store in Buffalo, New York. You can come down here and open these links and read more. I'm just showing you, when people try to tell you, you shouldn't be rioting, well, we haven't rioted really. The few times we have, they deserved it. All of these protests, well, I'm telling you, we need to stop protesting. We need to stop marching. We just need to stop spending our money. We need to go on a boycott. Africa needs to say, you know what? We're not selling any of these European countries and nations that colonized us, enslaved us, and oppressed us. We're not gonna, now that we have our freedom and we've thrown you out. We've thrown you out of the nations, and if there's anybody left, you're getting ready to get out. And we just don't want to sell you any more gold. We don't want to sell you any more cobalt. We don't want to sell you any more platinum. We're not doing business with you anymore until you come up with a reparation plan to pay us all for what you've done. Until you return all of these African artifacts that you have in the British and the European museums, until you bring them back to Africa. Until you return all of the gold, the silver, and everything else that you've stolen back to Africa, we're not selling you anything. We're going to sell it to Russia, China, India, all of the BRICS nations, North Korea. If you want uranium now, you have to go to North Korea and buy it. You have to go to Putin and say, you know what, we need to buy some uranium. You have to go to China. We'll do business with them. And if you want to buy gold, diamonds, platinum, you go to them and buy it. Because until you have made reparations to pay all of the African nations that you've done these dirty deeds to, we don't need you. We're not going to do any more business with you. Listen, man, we're tapping out of this game, okay? So all of these massacres are still happening. And the United States Constitution, no president or anybody has done anything to stop it. It's very simple to stop this. Only thing you have to do is require all government employees, all civil servants, and all elected officials, all police officers, all military employees. You have to take a lie detector test. And you just have to answer 2 or 3 questions. Are you a racist? Are you a bigot? Are you a member of any racist hate groups? If you pass, you get in. If you don't, it's your right to be a racist. It's just not your right to serve me and protect black people. They don't want to do it. It's business. All right. June 17th, 2015, Charleston Church. This is the one. 9 African American churchgoers were gunned down inside a church in an act of white supremacy. Terrorism. They took him to Burger King. Got him a Whopper, fries, shake. Okay? What are they doing to protect us? They're not giving us the 15th Amendment. February 8th, 1968, Orangeburg Massacre. 2 years before the Kent State murders, 28 students were injured and 3 were killed in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Most shot in the back by state police while involved in peaceful protests. You see their pictures over here. Those are the 3 black men they killed. Shot them in the back. Who shot them? State police. Shot in the back by state police. Slave patrol. You can't, if you want to ignore this, go ahead. But don't tell me that if you want to get mad at me because I'm showing you and telling these things, great. I'm not leaving it for you. I'm leaving it for my daughter. I'm leaving it for my son. I'm leaving it for my grandchildren. I'm just sharing it with you. My children will never be able to say that my father, my grandfather, led me down this road. No, I'm not. No, I'm telling you to get off of that wagon. I'm telling you to get off of the Titanic. I'm telling you, get out of church. It was praying to Jesus Christ that got us in this mess. Believing, all you got to do is wait on the Lord. Where is he? There couldn't be a Jesus before there was a letter J. You couldn't have a Jesus before you could spell Jesus. And you couldn't spell Jesus before 1524. Look it up. The letter J wasn't invented until 1524. You know, that's why this name of this channel is The Truth May Hurt. You know, but you know, once you heal, you'll never be the same again. December 29th, terror attack of African Americans at Catchers, Arkansas. The Catchers race riot began in Arkansas, leading to the creation of another sundown town. America still has sundown towns. These are towns where they'll tell, just like in South Africa, where you had to be out of town by 6 or 7 o'clock. They had towns, and they still have sundown towns in America. They tell you black people can't be in this town after dark. Bad things will happen to you. All right, Rosewood. White supremacists destroyed the black town of Rosewood, Florida, and murdered many of its residents. Descendants have fought for reparations and recognition of the history. It's not in history books. You know, you have to do research. You're not going to get no recognition of Rosewood, you know, where they went in and massacred and slaughtered people. No. The Tulsa Massacre in May the 31st, 1921. You know, this is when the white supremacists went in and destroyed a thriving black community in Oklahoma, known today as this was Black Wall Street. Black people they had everything. This town was thriving, and white people got jealous and said, niggas shouldn't have that. They went in there and burnt down the town. This was the first time that a bomb had been dropped out of an airplane, and they dropped it on black people to destroy Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look it up. So if you're sitting around saying, "Oh, well, man, that happened a long time ago," they're not doing that now. They never stopped, and they're getting ready to return to all of this stuff. Be careful. No, you don't need to be careful. You need to wise up and wake up. All right, November 2nd, 1920, the Okochee Massacre. Okochee Massacre. Ocoee Massacre. More than 50 African Americans killed in the Ocoee Massacre after going to vote in Florida. They killed 50 people just because you were going to vote. Where is the Supreme Court? Where is the police that are protecting us? Okay? You go to vote and they're going to kill you. You think it's changed? It hasn't. All right? You can just go down through here. I don't want to make this too long and I'm running out of time. Okay? Red Summer in Chicago. 1919, 1919, 1919, 1920, 1923, 1920, 1921, 1919, 1919, 1910, 1908, 1898. You know, listen, they're not running out. They never stopped, is what I'm trying to show you. 1886. Okay, every few years, it's a massacre. This is what I'm trying to show you. Okay? They never stop. That's just page 1. 1868. 1868. 1866. 1866. 1864. 1864. All of these are after, these are just the things that started pretty much right at the Emancipation Proclamation. Before. Yeah. right around and before the Emancipation Proclamation. So please take some responsibility of studying, learning your history, learning your culture, learning that, God didn't have anything to do with religion. God is about spirituality. Out of all of the animals that God created, humans are the only ones that are in a religion. The first name for God is nature. And if you go back and watch my Willie Lynch letter of how to make a slave, it tells you that Willie Lynch says you have to break the natural nature of the nigger like you break the natural nature of a horse, because in his natural state, he's not worth anything to us, because God, nature, teaches them everything. We have to take them out of a independent state of mind to a dependent state of mind that they need us for everything. That's what's happening. And if you don't want to go back and correct it, shame on you. Your children are going to suffer. And if you think you got a savior coming down here that's going to fix it, nobody's making it out of here alive. Let me show you this, and we're gone. Okay. When I say that none of us are making it out of here alive, I'm saying that specifically for the believers that believe that there's going to be a rapture. The rapture wasn't even added to the Bible until 1830. Okay? And if you read down through here, Christ introduced the subject of the rapture of the church for the first time in the Bible in John 14. The rapture started getting its roots in 1830. However, the term rapture appears nowhere in the New Testament. In his first letter to the theologians, the Apostle Paul wrote that the Lord will come down from heaven and that a trumpet call will precede the rise of the dead in Christ. You know what? Paul is a liar. Paul never existed. And I'm going to show you this because, I don't like leaving loose ends. Okay? Paul says, I'm going to just narrate it to you because I'm running out of time. Paul says he was on his way to Damascus and he saw a bright light and he had a vision that Jesus came and talked to him and gave him these things. This is all in Paul's mind. The mythical Paul, because the historical Paul never existed. He wrote, he's supposed to be the author of 14 of the books in the New Testament. And Paul says, I lie to glorify God. Paul tells you, I'll lie in a heartbeat. Romans chapter 3, verse 7. For if the truth of God have more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? Okay? Paul says, I tricked you. Paul says, you know what? I'll lie to you. I'll trick you. I'll deceive you. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 16. But that as it may, I have not been a burden to you, yet crafty, the fellow that I am, I caught you by trickery. You go down to King James, it says, I caught you with guile. You look up guile. Guile means deceit. It means trickery. Means deception. So what is Paul telling you if he's not telling you, I'll lie, I'll trick you, I'll tell you anything? Okay? So, who is Paul? He's a made-up character that have given you rules to get to heaven that they made up. See, Paul has everybody messed up. Everybody believes that when they read Paul, that they are reading Jesus Christ's gospel. They believe that this is what makes believing so dangerous. They believe that when they read the books Paul wrote, that they're reading what Jesus told Paul in a vision after he saw this bright light. on his way to Damascus to hunt down Christians and kill them. See, Paul was a bounty hunter before he saw this vision. It'd be like Hitler going to the Jews saying, on my way to Berlin to kill a bunch of Jews, I saw a bright light and God told me to tell you. They would look at Hitler and do this. Okay, well, if you go to Romans chapter 2, verse 16, Paul is telling you, you're not going to be judged by the gospel of Jesus Christ or the gospel of God. He says, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. He's saying that Jesus Christ is going to judge you according to his own gospel. You look up the definition of gospel, it doesn't even call Paul's name, because Paul is not supposed to have a gospel. See, Paul has us messed up because we believe when we read the books that Paul wrote that we are reading the gospel of Jesus Christ according to Paul that he got after he was on his way to Damascus. Now, he was on his way to Damascus to hunt down Christians because Paul was a bounty hunter. He would hunt down Christians and turn them into the Romans to be crucified and killed, okay, for believing in Christianity. So on his way to Damascus, he said he saw this light, and Jesus, this, that, and the other appeared. And so when we read the books Paul wrote, we have been assuming that we're reading the gospel that Paul got from Jesus. Well, go to Romans chapter 2, verse 16. And this is Paul saying, this will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Jesus Christ, as my gospel declares. Now, if you look up gospel, it doesn't even call Paul's name. So where did Paul get a gospel? Okay? He's saying he didn't get it from Jesus Christ. He's saying, according to my gospel. Where did he get it from? He's not saying you're going to be judged through the gospel of Jesus Christ. He says people's secrets, God judges that God the Father would judge people's secrets through Jesus Christ according to Paul's gospels. Paul's got us messed up. Well, he had me messed up, but I woke up. I got up. I'm getting out of that mess. Well, I'm out of that mess. I'm trying to keep my family out of it. Now go to Romans chapter 16, verse 25. And again, Paul wrote, well, Paul never existed. The mythical Paul is said to have written 14 of the books in the New Testament. Everybody loves Paul. Everybody quotes Paul, but they don't realize when you're quoting Paul, you're not quoting anything that Jesus Christ said. You're quoting things that were made up in the mythical Paul's mind after he was supposed to have this vision. And you know, it is kind of crazy to believe that in all of the time of the world, God only spoke to these few men. God isn't handicapped. God actually says, I don't need man for anything. I made man in the air he breathes. But now he needed these men that God didn't even say, well, tell them your last name. All right, so let's go to Romans chapter 16, verse 25. Now to him who is able to establish you in accordance with what? My gospel. The message I what? Proclaim about Jesus Christ. Nobody else is proclaiming this but Paul. The message I proclaim about Jesus Christ in keeping with the revelations of the mysteries hidden for long ages past. Paul is a liar. Paul never existed. Get out of that. You're not following Jesus Christ. You are following Paul. Okay? You worshiping Paul, not Jesus Christ, even though Jesus Christ never existed. I'm going to say Ashe. Have a great day.